The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available on Amazon.
The Mike Wagner Show, also brought to you by Illuminatical, the think tank of the future. The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, available on Amazon, highlighting the Book of David, and Heidi Tam Music, with her latest on HeidiTamMusic.com.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studio, and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosinzia. Also brought to you by Illuminatical, the think tank of the future. The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, now on Amazon. Also Heidi Tam Music, check out her latest at HeidiTamMusic.com. We're here with a terrific gentleman who is basically an filmmaker, editor, director with 15 years of feature film experience. He began his film career as an assistant film editor on Oprah Winfrey TV show, and later with Disney, in the MPAC, also WB, Fox, Universal, Paramount, and debuted with Safehouse. We'll talk more about that. He has a new movie out there, which is a sci-fi thriller, telling the story of a gentleman who is a suspected child serial killer, apprehended for murder of 2 children and kidnapping a third, claiming during the interrogation he's a soldier from the future and sent back in time to kill the grandparents of the woman who starts World War III. And the question is he lying or is he a freedom fighter? We'll talk more about that in the movie Paradox. Live, ladies and gentlemen, at Plus Studios and outside Los Angeles, the amazing film producer, editor, director with 15 years experience, and with his debut release, Paradox, starring Ryan Vallon, Maximilian Blanc, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, multi-talented Tim Colletti. Tim, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Whoever that guy you're talking about, I'm very impressed.
Are you talking about the book?
Oh, no, the guy you were just talking about, the editor, director, writer guy.
Well, I guess we're talking to him right here. So you basically are a film producer, editor, director of 15 years of film feature experience. You began a film career as an assistant film editor on the Oprah Winfrey TV show. You also later got on Disney in the MPAC, also WB, Fox, Universal, Paramount. You also debuted with Safehouse. You also have a new movie, which is a sci-fi thriller telling the story of Zane Carson, a suspected child serial killer apprehended for murder of 2 children, kidnapping the third. Claiming during the interrogation he's a soldier of the future sent back in time to kill the grandparents of a woman who starts World War III. The movie is called Paradox, starring Ryan Vallon, Maximilian Blanc, and more. Before getting all that, Tim, tell us how you first got started.
After I got out the Navy, I always wanted to come out to California. I used to live in Ohio, and I came out to California, and I started working at Universal Studios as a security guard.
Oh, wow.
I just so happened to come in when the Teamsters were on strike, and they needed more security guards, and they were looking for anybody with any kind of military background, anything. So the timing really it just sunk at that time. And so I got here. I worked on the lot for about a year in security, and there was a guy who used to come through my gate all the time, really nice guy. He said, "Listen, if you ever want to get into business, you ever want to be a runner, I can get you on a show." I said, "Okay." And then he got an interview on the New Adventures of Lassie as a runner. Yes. And so the guy I used to be a runner for was the post-production supervisor, a really nice guy named Randy. Show ends, and about 6 months later, he calls me up and says, "Tim, I have this TV show Oprah's doing, The Women of Brewster Place. It's a series now. Do you want to be an apprentice film editor?" I was like, "Randy, man, I've never touched film in my life." He said, "Don't worry about it. Let's show you what you need to know." I said, "Okay, well, that's an opportunity you can't turn down." So,
who needs to go to school? We can work at Universal and all that. So
exactly. So for me, it ended up being great. I did that. I got in the union about 90 days later. One of the editors got me in the union, which was great, and that allowed me then to take on union jobs. And another friend down there said there was a film over at Disney that they needed another assistant editor. The film has just come out. It's making an Academy Award run, but they're going to do some recutting on it to release it in England. And the film was Dances with Wolves. And I was like, "Oh, that's fantastic." So one of the original editors was there and another assistant, and I got on that for like, I don't know, 6 months, 5 months, however long it was.
Wow.
And at that point, I was at Disney. I met people, they knew me, and then I ended up working on a number of Disney films, and then I went over and got a Warner Brothers. And at that point, I was an assistant film editor on features. And, it's a small group, and you get to know each other. And then film comes up, hey, you doing anything? Hey, you doing anything? So,
wow.
Yeah, it was really nice. So I ended up doing that, and I did it for years.
Oh my gosh!
And then it was fun. And at some point, I decided I wanted to start directing. I had been in long enough, right? As I always like to say, the editors that I worked with are the editors that people write books about. So I had worked with the best, and it was. I got lucky. I mean, I was getting a film school education and getting paid for it. So I mean, I couldn't complain about that. Yeah, it was very good. And so after I did that, I decided to do my first film, which was Safehouse, black and white film noir piece. It did well. We made a bunch of festivals. And I thought that was going to be the film that was really going to kickstart my career as a director. Unfortunately, it didn't. The timing was whatever it may have been, and it didn't work out. So I went back to editing and still did stuff. But eventually I started souring on editing because I wanted to direct. So I started taking films. I started taking less and less films. And eventually I decided just to put all my concentration into directing.
Mm-hmm. And what was that one moment that made you change your mind? The precise moment?
The precise exact moment, I was working on Ali, and this was 2001, because it was 9/11, it just happened. And it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they were sort of behind and they had 2 crews going. And I had the mid-watches. I used to know in the Navy, it was from 6 at night till, and I come in, 6 at night to about 6 in the morning. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just tired of it. I am so tired of now working these hours at this point. I just want to direct. I want to be the one making the decisions instead of being the one who's an assistant, who's just helping the editors. So at that point, I decided I'm just going to start concentrating my efforts on directing. And then at that point, Safehouse got to festivals, started doing well. I was like, okay, now things are working out, so this should be a good. This should work. Unfortunately, it didn't. However, that's the way I see it, if it comes too soon, then you think it's too easy, and then you get accustomed to that, and you don't realize how hard it actually is. So at that point, then I just started doing some other shorts and got some more festivals with other ones, stop motions, and this and that and the other. And then just before the pandemic, a friend of mine, we'd always talked about doing a project together, and I'd written this short. And I remember telling him, I said, listen, I think this is better than the short that it is. I think this is a feature. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the entire script for it. And then we'll take it from there. So it took about 3 months to write the script. And then after I wrote it, I was like, okay, I think we can do this. This is a film. We have another film here, which was very exciting because the other thing about it is if you write it, you want to make sure you can write it so that you can shoot it. So you have to make sure that whatever your budget is, you can afford to do the film. Otherwise, you've written it and you're trying to shop it around, hoping that someone else will put the money up. I didn't want to be in that boat. I wanted to be able to write it, say, this is what it is, let's go.
Okay, gotcha. So you're basically going against the current trend of crowdfunding, GoFundMe, and everything like that.
Yeah, because I wanted to be able to say, this is it, let's do it, I'm ready to go. I've put the money aside, I'm set, let's move. For me, it's... Sorry?
I know. I really like that approach that you had, too. And, of course, you also did some other work like with Original Sin, Species 2, The Country Bears, The Rage, Carrie 2, Ali, Body Count, and more. Maybe a bit about those.
Yeah, those, that was when I was doing the assistant film editing, which was great because at that point I was learning how to direct. I was learning how to put everything together because everything that's shot, it comes in and we have to sync it as an assistant. So you see, and at the time it was film. So you have... that was also great because it was during that transition from analog film to digital. And so I actually worked on film in your hand, holding it and cutting it, splicing it, piecing it together and syncing it. So it gave me an appreciation and a love for the texture of film and touching it. It was just really exciting. Also, transitioning to digital was nice because it gave a different aspect. So it wasn't like oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's like, okay, this is another tool in the arsenal of filmmaking, and this is great. There's a bunch of benefits to it. There's some things you lose, but there's a bunch of stuff that you gain. So being in that transitional phase, for me, it was really, really exciting because I got to be to be attached to old film, and then I got to be in the beginning when the new stuff was coming out. So I was right in that little sweet spot. And so when I was working on those films, normally on a film which has film on it, there'd be 5, 6, 7, 8 assistant editors in the film because you're physically syncing dailies and you're doing all the assistant work. When you got the digital, then it cut it down to 1 or 2 or maybe 3 at the most assistant editors that you would have in there. And so when we were during the film days, it was nice because there's a group of people. There's a small group, the editing room is a bunch of people in a dark room doing film. So, you get really intimate with all the people that you're working with. And it was great because you're friends and you know it and you've known each other. You've worked on a ton of films together. And so so when you're there at 2:00 in the morning waiting on some optical effects to come in to cut into film, you can laugh with your friend. You can sit there wait and know that that's just the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. So on those films, it was really fun.
It sounds like it too. And of course, you had fun with certain scenes, crack jokes, and everything like that. I can imagine 2 in the morning. It's like, anybody ready for pizza?
Yeah, that is so truthful. I mean, yeah, the film has a cycle. Dailies come in. There's a lot of work. You're working just to get all of it done. So long hours. Then the director comes in after the production, after they finish shooting, and then it gets kind of slow because now they're just cutting the film, and so you're in there. The days are very easy, but then sound comes in, music comes in. At that point, you start getting ready for screenings, and the pace starts to pick up again, and then you got visual effects coming in. You have all this, and so that little lull before the storm really is just what it is. Because when that storm kicks in, now the film they have a schedule and a deadline to meet, and so they're trying to make that film fit into that window because it has to be in the theaters on a particular day. Oh, wow. And so, you're really pushing that, and you have the preview screenings. If the preview screenings go bad, they're going to be making changes. Then you have color timing. There's just a ton of stuff that's going on. Mm-hmm. So you have those 2 periods. Where it gets really hectic, but then you have that one moment in there where you just sort of relax and wait for the process to take place. Mm-hmm. And it's at that period right there, for me anyway, where I really began thinking about directing, because I sat in there with all the editors. They're now cutting. And so I'm watching it with the directors, and I'm watching all this happen. It's like, I want to be in that chair instead of this chair. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was the big thing.
I actually like the chair that you're in as well, too, Tim. I like that chair you got. I wish I had. And of course, more about the movie Paradox with Tim Colletti and what's it about. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Malson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Malson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Malson-Zia has garnered great reviews. And Evil Evan enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Girls Missing by Mia Malson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Illumniptical, the think tank of the future. Illumniptical, the think tank that brings science and engineers together from all over the world to create a method to construct a renewable generator with this in mind. This unique product offers operating on a closed loop system, generates more energy internally that needs to function. The extra electricity can be used to run everything from homes and power grids to phones and laptops. The power source is entirely renewable, highly scalable, and more importantly, self-regenerating. For more information, visit facebook.com/illumniptical. That's facebook.com/ELLUMENIPTICAL today. Also, Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner. After this one here, and it's based on the life of David, including 30 pre-exquisite paintings in King David's Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote, and time as a shepherd where it started, and complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. So check out The Sweet Psalmist by Serena on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner. Also brought to you by Heidi Tan Music, featuring the smash hit Baby Come Back, and appearing August 25th in Los Angeles. Listen for details at HeidiMusic.com. Also, take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. You can subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and 40 podcast platforms, Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker as well. And for great gifts, Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Make great says 24/7. Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more merchandise, Amazon.com/me and Mosendia. Check out that book, The Sweet Psalmist, and Missing as well. Support the Mike Wagner Show at Anchor FM and PayPal as well. Really amazing director Tim Colletti of Paradox here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we get to movie Paradox, you've been directing for quite some time. Who are some of your favorite film directors growing up?
If I get down to it, I think the one that's always inspired me the most would be Ridley Scott.
Okay.
I think it was Ridley Scott because Ridley had a way of creating an atmosphere. And the stories are great, but even if we just go back to Alien and you look at the atmosphere he created, it was sort of like, as they always like to say, it was truck drivers in space. How do you take these people and put them in this situation and then create this look and this feeling and this mood? And that in itself is what drives the story. The story is a great story, but being in that spaceship, being in that claustrophobic environment, and it really affects you on an emotional level. The same with Blade Runner. There's a look, there's a beauty to it. There's a style that's readily, when you see that, you know it's a Ridley Scott film. And I think the other thing about it is because he's the look. It takes you into that world. That look of whatever the production designer has done and what they've created. The second you watch that, you're sucked into that world, and you know where you are. And so for me, that's like the magic of a movie, is being sucked into whatever world it may be. And for me, Ridley Scott does it the best. I mean, it's just sort of like the timing, the pacing. He and his editors. So. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about him, but for me, that's what it is. I mean, and also I like, it's not one particular period or whatever as far as directing. Any directors who are trying anything that's sort of breaking the mold, it's always fun to watch because there's stuff in there that you can learn. So any directors that are sort of getting innovative or trying different things or going a different direction, I enjoy watching them as much because, as with anything else, the more that you see, the more that you learn, the more that you can expand your knowledge and your arsenal of filmmaking. So for me, that's one of the reasons I really like Ridley, because he's always pushing that envelope.
And who else is your favorites?
I like Oliver Stone. One of my favorite films of all time is Platoon, and so is Walt Disney. The Wizard of Oz. But if you think about it, the Wizard of Oz and Platoon are exactly the same film.
Really?
It's just one. Yeah, one is set in Vietnam and the other set in the Land of Oz. You have a character in Platoon, Taylor's coming into Vietnam, into this world. You have Dorothy, who's going to the Land of Oz. Neither one have been there. They're both trying to figure out how to get back home alive. They both have characters who have guided them. An evil person, in Platoon's case, Barnes. And then in The Wizard of Oz, you have the Wicked Witch. But then you have people who are trying to help you guide and navigate this area as you're just trying to make your way back home. So they're both these stories about being in this environment that's unfamiliar with. You're trying to survive it, and you're trying to get back home. And when you get back home, you're damaged. She saw all that, and when she got back home, she had to make sense of what happened, Dorothy. And when Taylor from Platoon got back home, he had to make sense of what he had just been in there. And he spoke about the two men who were fighting for his soul. And, if you get to The Wizard of Oz, you had the Wicked Witch, you had Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, you had these characters who were literally fighting for her soul too, telling this is how you have to get home. Well, you took this from me and I want it back. And so that similarity for me anyway is how those two films connect. And so any types of films that are these, I guess the journey is the films that I really like. So I think, and I like that Oliver Stone also writes. He writes and he directs. So he's intimate not just with what he's directing, but with the story itself, because he wrote it. So he knows what he's trying to get out onto the screen. And so there are other directors who can take a script and they can impart themselves in that script and make it what it is. Spielberg is great with that. He doesn't write, but he can take those stories and then he can turn them into a Spielberg story.
That is interesting. I never thought about that. Platoon and The Wizard of Oz be along the same parallel lines. I never thought about it. I'm glad you brought it to our attention.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it's that, and I think the other ones that I like, I love big action films that just blow stuff up.
Like the Michael Bay ones? Boom!
Yeah, I super love those, man. Stuff blowing up, plot going all over the place, stuff that doesn't make sense. I don't care. It's just fun and it's enjoyable to watch. So anytime films like that, for me, ultimately, and I'll be honest with you, the greatest thing about movies is that they take you away. If it's a comedy, if it's a rom-com, if it's a noir piece, whatever it is, you get caught into this other world and you're in it. And they're telling you this stuff. And as long as they stick to what their rules are that they create in the beginning, I'm fine with it. It can be a fantasy film. It can be a pseudo documentary. It can be a documentary, as long as they're telling this great story about people. And as I always like to say, and I don't want to ramble on about this, but since humans have been alive, the first thing that we've always done is told stories. We told stories on how to get somewhere. If you look at all the cave paintings, those big pictures, they're a story. This is what we're hunting. This is where we are. This is what we need to do. It's one big frame, but it's a story, and it's telling somebody else that. And we have spent our entire humanity and our existence telling stories, and great stories throughout time are great stories. And so when you're able to do that, and people can sit there and talk to you about it, and they can tell you, well, I saw this movie, it was great, or I read this book and it was fantastic. You're getting caught in it. When it's done right, there's nothing greater than experiencing that. If it's on the written page, if it's on a big screen, if it's somebody telling you a little story, a joke, whatever it is, when it's done well, you smile at the end. Even if it's sad or whatever, you feel good about it because you got caught up in it and it made you feel alive. It made you feel great. And I think that's for me, what will trump anything in a film is a story. As long as that story is something that you can just feel yourself in there, for me, it just doesn't get any better than that.
Oh my gosh, you talk about stories all across the board. What is your favorite story about?
My favorite story. Oh, that's a great question. What would be my favorite story? I think Star Wars, and the very first one, because it was about somebody who had to learn the world. Mm-hmm. He had to grow up. Mm-hmm. He had to be pushed past his limits, pushed past his reality, and he had to grow up. And that's life. When you're a kid, you have to grow up. You have to, at some point, you leave home. At some point, you have to take responsibility. At some point, you get older. You have your own responsibilities now with your children. It's life. And you have to do that. And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. And then it will be fun and it will be easy. But it's all part of it. So any kind of stories that, again, the journey, I think it's this journey. Any stories that take something where it starts and you can see where it starts and watch it change and watch it grow and watch it either fail or succeed or whichever the case may be. Mm-hmm. For me, those are the stories that I've always had the greatest attraction to. I'm not certain why, but I know I've always had that. And so any kind of stories that do that, go down Homer, the Odyssey, you can take it up to the Wizard of Oz. I mean, you can just go in there. There's been a ton of them. And yeah, it's that idea of surviving and moving forward, or at least attempting to.
And certainly indeed as well, too, and involves in the movie Paradox, starring Ryan Roland, Maximilian Blanc, and more. And we'll get that in just a minute. And what is the real story behind Paradox? We'll find out with Tim Colletti. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show, themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia, also brought to you by Illuminiptical, the humanitarian think tank, and also Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon in paperback and ebook, and hightimemusic.com. Check out her music, hightimemusic.com. We'll be back with the amazing Tim Colletti of Paradox after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, I'm Burl Bear, legendary American author, and I'm here to tell you about Missing, the new mystery suspense novel by Mian Mosen-Zia. It's really a good book. Very surprising. Never metaphor I didn't like, especially in this book. Here you have a main character whose life has been filled with despair. His wife died in 9/11. His young daughter died of a rare disease. He's not a happy camper. What does he do for a living? He's a physical fitness trainer. When somebody hardly knows, someone he's never met, he only has encountered them on an internet chat line, goes missing. This is his journey. He's going to go rescue them. This is his search for redemption, his search for his own personal promised land. He couldn't do anything about the death of his wife, the death of his child, but maybe he could rescue this woman he's never met. That is, if she exists. Missing by Mian Mosen-Zia, international in scope, vastly entertaining, full of surprises. I suggest you get it, neither paperback or an electronic edition for your Kindle. Missing by Mian Mosen-Zia.
There's nothing like summer smooth jazz and R&B night at the View Music Bar. Join us Sunday, August 25th at 7:30 for a night filled with smooth jazz stars like Billboard charting artist Niels, award-winning songwriter and musician Michael Garvin, UK's top charting soulful artist Joe Levy, our very own SoCal's hitmaker, trumpeter CTK, and smooth jazz award-winning international charting vocalist Heidi Tan.
Spending all my nights, all my money going out of the town.
Don't miss this unforgettable evening at the View Music Bar and Lounge. Sponsored by Skin Protocol Med Spa, Fast Fix Jewelry and Watch Repairs, East Coast Artist Agency, Jazz Club Radio, Worldwide Jazz Radio, So Jazzy Radio, and 96.9 The Oasis. Tickets available on the Venmo app and Eventbrite. Sunday, August 25th for a smooth summer jazz and R&B night.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Illuminiptical, the think tank of the future. Illuminiptical, a human think tank that brings scientists and engineers together from all over the world, has created a method to construct a renewable generator with this in mind. This unique product operates on a closed-loop system that generates more energy internally than it needs to function. The extra electricity can be used to run everything from homes and power grids to phones and laptops. This power source is entirely renewable, highly scalable, and more importantly, self-regenerating. For more information, visit facebook.com/Illuminiptical. That's facebook.com/ELLUMENIPTICAL today. The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David's Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases Him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to the Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with the multi-talented Tim Colletti of Paradox here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a great lesson about film editing, stories, and everything else. And you put this all together nicely in Paradox, which is a sci-fi thriller telling the story of a guy suspected child serial killer apprehended for murder, but claims to be in another world. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the idea came about during the just before the pandemic started, and during the pandemic, there was a lot of things with conspiracy. And everybody see there was conspiracy about everything, about the vaccine, about this, about that. There's always this conspiracy. And I often wonder, how do people what is it that gets people involved in a conspiracy, or why do they begin to believe conspiracy? It's not just this particular one. You can go back JFK, you can go back further than that, from the who knows when it started. There's always this idea of people getting caught in it. So for me, it's like, what gets you caught in it? So when I was writing Paradox, I wanted to sort of delve into that idea of what it is about what is it about a conspiracy that gets people caught in it? So for me, the idea was this guy, he's killed 2 children, he's kidnapped another, and he tells this story that he's from the future. And I realized as we were going through it that part of what it is you tell just enough where it's believable. Mm-hmm. And then you build upon that. And then people start filling in blanks. And as they fill in the blanks, however they want to fill it in, but they normally fill it in so that the conspiracy or whatever they want to believe, they believe. And so that, I think I may have frozen, I'm not certain.
That's okay. You can keep going. I can still hear you, so you can keep on going here. I'm sure it'll catch up sooner or later.
Gotcha. And so it was about examining that concept, how you just need just enough truth to keep people going. And so in this particular one, this guy is telling this about what happened after he's been arrested. And then it becomes up to the police to figure out, is he actually telling the truth or is he not telling the truth? Because you slowly begin to get involved in it, because he gives you just enough where you can say, well, maybe I should question this. Maybe there is something here.
It's almost like scratching your head. Do I believe you? Are you from outer space? Where are you actually from? And everything like that.
Yeah, and I think that's what we sort of examine. I don't want to go any further to what because then there's other things that happen around it. But yeah, so it was basically examining the idea of conspiracy. And I thought the best way to do it would be with people who have to, the truth is paramount to what they do. Mm-hmm. If you're a police officer and you're investigating something, the truth has to be paramount. It can't be a guesswork. It has to be, this is what it is. This is what happened. So to put it in that context, it's sort of, now you're thinking, okay, is this really what it is? And it just sort of goes along that route. So yeah, I wanted to give it that, that reality and that base reality where you say, yes, this, because when you hear that, it puts it in a different context and you see the information differently and you have to interpret the information differently because now it's in a truth-based context. And so, and I think that's where the story, for me, that's what I wanted to really examine. It is a sci-fi film, so there's other sci-fi things that go along in because it's a sci-fi film. But the other thing I wanted to do is try to keep it as close to what we think now, so that it sort of forces you to examine it in a more I don't want to say realistic way, but in a more concrete way.
Mm-hmm. And plus, he had a purpose as well, too, going back in time to kill the grandparents of the woman who starts World War III. A bit more about that. And I guess, who is that woman, or should we keep it a secret?
Yeah, she comes out very quickly early on. Her name is Fleet Admiral Rachel Robinson. And so World War III happens, at least from the story that he's telling. Whether or not it's the truth, who knows, or is he even from the future? But yeah, he tells a story about this woman who was a fleet admiral. She took over the military during this event that occurred, and that's how she became fleet admiral. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that the fleet admiral is not. There've only been ever 4 fleet admirals in the history of the United States. And the last one, I believe, it was I don't know. I think it was Nimitz.
Yeah, Nimitz. Now, is that considered similar to a 5-star general?
Yes, it is.
It is. I just want to clarify that. That's all.
Yes. And so in order to be in that position, there's a war actually has to be going on. And then you are in charge of the entire fleet, the American fleet. And she's in charge at that point. And he tells a story that it takes place in the year 2078, 2065, whichever year it may be. And so everything he's telling seems to make sense in this world, or in our reality in this year. Whether or not it's the truth or in that future, who knows? And so, yeah, it's sort of examining that and what it takes to believe that. I mean, did he give you enough information? Is it stupid information? Is it, so and I think what I have found that through some of the screenings that we've had, people sort of slowly get caught into it. And because it doesn't happen overnight, it's just a very slow process of, how do I want to put it? It's just a very slow, meandering process. But at some point, there's a tipping point. Oh, wow, I believe it now.
And that certainly is as well, too. And I think there's some other things as well, too. And what do you want, the viewers to get from the movie as well?
What I would like for them to get from the movies, if one is just sort of examining what truth is or why you believe a particular thing. And is there something behind it that's truthful? Is it just something you want it to be? It's sort of, so I guess it's about examining the things that you believe to be. Because sometimes, and I think part of what it was when I was writing that script, there was a few things that I had to examine. It's like, do you really believe that? Or is that something that you just want it to be that way because you want it to be that way? Or is it actually, there's something that says, yes, this is the truth right here. So I think for what it is to walk out and sort of say, yes, I believe that, or I understand why I believe that. And it's not just, I'm believing it because somebody told me a long time ago that this is what you need to believe. So I think it's sort of the idea of belief.
Okay. And where can we find your movie, Paradox, and your other works at?
Right now, everything, since it just came out, it's on, the big one is Amazon Prime and also Tubi. There are a couple other streamers, but they're mostly overseas, and I can't think of their names right now. But the two big ones where it is and where it's doing well is on Amazon Prime and on Tubi.
Okay. And how about your website, and where can people check you out at?
Right now, our website we're just putting up is Paradox the Movie 2023, which is on Instagram. But we haven't put up the other websites yet. We have a designer coming on doing that. So because the movie has just now come out, so it's only been out for like maybe a few weeks. Okay. So we're still putting stuff together.
Okay, sounds great. We'll simply check that out with the amazing multi-talented Tim Colletti of Paradox here on the Mike Wagner Show. Tim, there's a few more things I'd like to have you back. What else can we expect in 2024 and beyond?
The next thing is, I think, based on the success of this film, which I think we were feeling confident about it, we'd further like to explore further the universe that we've created with it. So I think the next thing will be the sequel to the film. And so I've actually started on the script on that one. And so on this one, we want to open it a little bigger, go back and forth between the future, the present, the past, where we are now. And so I think that's the next big thing that we're doing right now is, I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
That's okay. I think he wants to see the movie, maybe go back in future or something. So
yeah, so that's the next big thing.
All right, we'll certainly check that out. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
The biggest influence in my career would have to be, wow, that's a good, wow, that is a really good question. The biggest influence in my career, and it was very outside of what happened, was when I first moved out to LA, there was a woman who was very nice who charged me an incredibly low rent to live. And because of that, I was able to get into film. Her name, she was just, I can't say enough about how kind she was, and it was a nice place, and it allowed me this ability to try different things because I could afford my lifestyle at that point. And,
there you go.
Her name was Maxine, and she was fantastic. So for me, I think she had the greatest impact because it allowed me this freedom.
That is certainly great as well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
The best advice I want to give to anybody at this point is, listen, if you enjoy it, enjoy your life. There's no reason to, we're somewhat of a divided nation. It's really not necessary. We can find common ground. We can find a commonality. We can find a way to be nice to each other, to listen and to have a conversation that's kind, or at least it's not angry. And I think for me, that would be the best thing, to sort of step back and remember that, hey, he's a person like you are. She's a person like you are. They have their opinion. You have your opinion. There's no reason to go yelling and screaming. You can talk.
You got that right. I think that's very important as well. Once again, with the multi-talented Tim Colletti of Paradox here on the Mike Wagner Show. Tim, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Once again, what's the website? How do people contact you? Where can people check out the movie Paradox and more?
Yes, again, the website, our Instagram account is Paradox, the movie 2024. It's on Tubi, and it's on Amazon Prime. And also, we'll have more coming up as we finish the website. We'll have more coming up. And again, for everybody who's watched it, thank you very much. And I think it's a film that you'll find yourself enjoying.
All right. Well, we'll certainly check that out. Once again, Tim, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. We wish all the best. And Tim, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you very much, Mike. I enjoyed being on the Mike Wagner Show.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, I'm Burl Barer, legendary American author, and I'm here to tell you about Missing, the new mystery suspense novel by Mian Mosensia. It's really a good book. Very surprising. Never metaphor I didn't like, especially in this book. Here you have a main character whose life has been filled with despair. His wife died in 9/11. His young daughter died of a rare disease. He's not a happy camper. What does he do for a living? He's a physical fitness trainer. When somebody hardly knows, somebody he's never met, he only has encountered them on an internet chat line, goes missing. This is his journey. He's going to go rescue them. This is his search for redemption, his search for his own personal promised land. He couldn't do anything about the death of his wife, the death of his child, but maybe he could rescue this woman he's never met. That is, if she exists. Missing by Mian Mosensia, international in scope, vastly entertaining, full of surprises. I suggest you get it, either paperback or an electronic edition for your Kindle. Missing by Mian Mosensia.
There's nothing like summer smooth jazz and R&B night at the View Music Bar. Join us Sunday, August 25th at 7:30 for a night filled with smooth jazz stars like Billboard charting artist Niels, award-winning songwriter and musician Michael Garvin, UK's top charting soulful artist Joe Levy, our very own SoCal's hitmaker, trumpeter CTK, and smooth jazz award-winning international charting vocalist Heidi Tan.
Spending all my nights, all my money going out of the town.
Don't miss this unforgettable evening at the View Music Bar and Lounge. Sponsored by Skin Protocol Med Spa, Fast Fix Jewelry and Watch Repairs, East Coast Artist Agency, Jazz Club Radio, Worldwide Jazz Radio, So Jazzy Radio, and 96.9 The Oasis. Tickets available on the Venmo app and Eventbrite. Sunday, August 25th for a smooth summer jazz and R&B night.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Illuminatical, the think tank of the future. Illuminatical, a human think tank that brings scientists and engineers together from all over the world, has created a method to construct a renewable generator with this in mind. This unique product operates on a closed-loop system that generates more energy internally than it needs to function. The extra electricity can be used to run everything from homes and power grids to phones and laptops. This power source is entirely renewable, highly scalable, and more importantly, self-regenerating. For more information, visit facebook.com/Illuminatical. That's facebook.com/ELLUMENIPTICAL today. The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases Him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.